I would like to discuss about vision board technology. Right now is December 8th, 2020, and we're going to move into a very magical, beautiful, fantastic period that is aligned with the winter solstice, that is sort of bringing in this, what I call a massive reconfiguration of the planet's systematic grid. Okay, and Mother Gaia is gearing up for the Aquarian age, that this particular portal that's opening up with the complete reconfiguration of the systematic grid, which is going to really, it's kind of like when you think of chiropractic or acupuncture, where you're opening up channels, right? You're clearing out blockages in the system, right? The connections with the muscles have with, the tissues, the bones, a connection to the nervous system and connection to the life nerve, all of that. Mother Gaia is going to have a major sort of, acupuncture appointment with this winter solstice and this grid work that's happening on behalf of humanity and the whole planet to really transition us into our interstellar consciousness, okay? And that's what the Aquarian age is about. And when we look at those who really are like the ones who really represent the Aquarian age, like Nikola Tesla, Yogi Bhajan, when we think of even Da Vinci going further back, even when we think of Einstein, these individuals, either they're scientific, they're mathematical, artistic, people who have a sort of metaphysical spirituality. That, and Yogi Bhajan has that as well. He's not necessarily a, Nikola Tesla, that's not his sort of subject of interest, but he has this similar, metaphysical spirituality that can go in two directions. It can become like this, the God, right? The God and the human, and how do you kind of connect to the God in the human brain, and that getting that kind of obsessed with that, which has a lot to do with the genius, right? The genius trait, right? The genius quality, right? The genius found in the DNA, right? But it also can go in a direction, right, with this Aquarian age, as in a highly creative and a highly creative civilization, as well as a highly spiritually evolved and developed human being. Okay, so we're seeing both of those paths, where we're seeing the kind of humans becoming sort of this technology type of experiment, right? Technology's experiment, which we have all kinds of movies about that, like The Matrix, right, where humans were basically just used as an experiment for technology's kind of obsession, right? But then there's also the direction I call the Pleiadian agenda, which Earth is in collaboration with, and Mother Gaia is basically, Pleiades is like the midwife to the birthing of Mother Gaia. And this pathway with the Pleiadian agenda has to do with humans uncovering the technology of one's interstellar consciousness. So this has nothing to do with, we think of like the technology of like software or AI or EGI or these technologies when it comes to nanochips, or, I'm hearing things about these sort of Silicon Valley type of device that it's like a technology they injecting in the body, and it's supposedly supposed to awaken your genius or something like that, right? It's really about human beings having a spiritual journey with their own sort of consciousness, and developing that consciousness, their own sort of brilliancy and excellency within themselves, through prayer, through meditation, through just the awakening of their the God within, right? and that could again go two different directions. There's like the God within can become a huge sort of Piscean age, like righteousness, right? Or it can become a sense of equality, right? We are all we're all here to to be creative and to collaborate with each other, right? To share ideas with each other so we can really get this planet evolving towards a civilization that we know, right, on Pleiades, or we know in our ancient past, where we are very much in a spiritual and creative renaissance. Okay, so I want to share the technology, the vision board technology that you could use right now for this massive portal, because this massive portal, if you really kind of become intentional with it and kind of utilize this very magical time, this can really set you up for 2021, okay, for the whole entire year if you kind of set it up, okay? And that means we got to get honest with ourselves. We got to get real, right? We got to, when you think of why do you go to acupuncture, it's because you're trying to clear out some things. You may have some blockages that's interfering with the natural, movement of the chi, right? So it's not just setting the intention. There's a sort of like, there's accountability, right? So like when I've done vision boards since very young, teenager vibes. And, whenever I look at my vision board, I always saw it as an inspiration, right? It's almost like it's helping me to be accountable, right? So if I say I want to manifest, this, or I want to manifest this, there's a sort of application, there's a sort of participation I have to have, right? So when I look at a vision board, it's kind of like I'm checking in with myself and being accountable for, am I really like moving forward? Am I really saying that I'm actually doing the work, right? If you say you want a loving relationship and that's on your vision board, but then you're hiding in your house, right? Then there's some kind of work, right? Then let's put on our vision board that I'm going to become more social, or, I'm going to have more faith in myself, or, right? So, we always like to jump ahead to like the loving relationship or the wealth, but we really need to be honest with ourselves and look in what steps am I willing to take? Because maybe we're not willing to take major steps forward, right, at this time that we're in, right? Maybe we need to build up our confidence, or, we need to work on our self-worth, right? So it's looking at the steps as well. Like, what steps am I willing to take that's going to make me more bold, more confident, more courageous, towards a loving relationship, or more wealth, or more creativity, right? So if you say like you want to be more creative, like painting, right? Well, the accountability is you taking painting classes or something like that, or YouTube painting classes, right? You can find them free nowadays, right? Or you taking time out of your week, maybe 2 times out of the week, for 1 hour, just sitting down and just painting, or getting a book, reading a book on painting, right? That's the kind of accountability where you're actually taking steps. Because sometimes people do vision boards and then, I look at them and they're not even kind of setting up their life, their routine, to actually kind of create a movement towards what they want, right? Like if you want a loving relationship, you have to express that, right? Or if you want more connection in this relationship, we got to get honest and ask ourselves, okay, what steps do I need to take, right? So that means we got to meditate. We got to, we got to ask ourselves, okay, there's certain steps I need to take. Either they're little or either they're big. It just depends on how much of a nerve you have, right? To with big steps, it's going to require a very strong sense of trust in yourself, right? And we may not have that, and that's fine. So we do little steps, right? It's all fine. So, okay, I'm going to share with you the what I kind of do, okay, with my vision board. So I'm a very visual person. I like to have images of people, expanders, okay? Like for my writing, right, I will have all kinds of, I have Dr. Seuss, I have C.S. Lewis, I have Michelle Gordon, I will have like Elizabeth Gilbert, I will even have like images of like Mr. Rogers, right? Because that is like the expanders that kind of help me to tap more into my creative writing flow, right? And then, I'll also have other writers that are like expanders that really inspire me. And then I could have like musicians, right, that really inspire me. Um, like I'll have Aurora or Simmer, Ajit, these type of people, women that are very inspiring, that get me motivated, that really kind of open up my mind to ways I can kind of express myself or be creative. Okay, so then when it comes to like loving relationships, being a very visual person, I always have like, ever since I was young, I've always had like a particular person, right? And it's not necessarily, it's not like a celebrity, it's not anybody known. It's somebody that I just kind of, I find, right? And I always do a list of what I feel, what resonates with my soul, as in like my soulmate. And I will like kind of, you know, find that kind of imagery, right, that helps me to connect with that, the more so the autonomy of that person rather than the actual like, the flesh, right? Okay. Because the people that I've always, the people I've always had as like the depiction of my soulmate have always been just like, pretty much regular guys, like very like nonchalant, very practical guys. They're not really like, out, kind of out there in the beauty, they're not like models type vibe, right? So, but it will always kind of, it's not so much about the look, it's about the kind of the way that they carry themselves, okay? The way they carry themselves, it kind of reminds me of my great dream or my vision of how my soulmate would carry himself, okay? And then I will also have writing as well. I will write on my vision board. Sometimes I will write dates, write accountability checkups. Like I will complete this book story by this date beside the picture, right, of, Dr. Seuss vibe if I'm writing children books. Or if it's like a song, I will write this amount of songs at this, date. And then I'll write that beside, my sort of vision of the music, right? But with love, like personal relationships that have to do with like that you don't necessarily have control over, I don't put dates. Like I don't say I'm going to meet my soulmate by like this date, right? Because time is fluid, and when you're dealing with somebody else, it's best to just leave it up to the divine, but continue to make steps, right? To get out there and socialize and do you and be you and that type, that kind of thing. Okay, so I won't do dates when it comes to actual physical people, okay? Because it puts a lot of pressure, and I'm more so putting dates on like, I'm gonna go to this amount of events, right, in this span of time, right? Rather than I'm going, this person type of thing, because people can get very, very disappointed, okay? And I've been through that. I've been, around the block with that. So how I organize my vision board, I organize it very like strategically. It's not just like everywhere, right? It's not just like pictures everywhere that doesn't go together. So for me, I got a board that I want to show you. So this is a thicker board. I don't really like the flimsy boards, okay? This is pretty thick. It's made of cardboard, okay? So it's kind of, you can see it's a little thick. Find this at Target, at Michael's. And what I do is so I put it on the wall. Sometimes I put it on the wall, I put it on the wall horizontally, like this, okay? Horizontally. And then while it's horizontal on the wall, I imagine I'm looking at it, and on the left side, which is the matters of the heart, at the top left, looking at it, okay? Looking at it on the wall horizontally, the top left, I put the love, right? Loving relationship, and making steps towards love, right? Personal relationship. It could even be with my children, my parents, what I really want to create within, loving partnerships. I call it like, the hearth, right? The hearth of you, right? Which is like, the home, the feelings of love and the feelings of sharing and giving, and what I'm working on within, the love life. And then at the bottom left corner, I will do more about like deep yearnings, deep longing, right? To express love. Like for me, I'll have my deep inner child longing or belonging is to create, like painting, right? Or I love ceramics, so I'll put ceramic pictures, right? Or I put like books that really like touch me with my inner child. And sometimes I'll put like pictures of like the night sky, or the northern lights, like things that really, like, there's a sense of deep like soul healing, okay? Like the stars, the northern lights. Sometimes to do picture like beach type of thing. Sometimes a Disneyland, right? Because it's so fulfilling for my inner child, okay? And then on the top right, so you're gonna look at it on the wall, okay? There's a particular technology. You're looking at the wall, like you're meditating, you're staring at it horizontally on the wall, and you're gonna imagine that there's like a clock, okay, and it's going counterclockwise. So when it goes counterclockwise on the wall, it goes towards the left, towards the heart, goes down towards the lower left, and then it goes around towards the right, lower right, all the way to the upper right, okay? So the upper right, I put like success, right? So the left has to do with the feminine, right? The right has to do with the masculine. So in the upper right, I always do, the whole right, I do like success, okay? Like outward movement. Like if I want to, like one time I had a picture of a plane, and I didn't even know if I would go on a plane, right? And then I went to Spain, Segovia, Spain for school, and I was like, whoa. Because I'm a very grounded person. I've never really, been somebody that's on a plane a lot. But that happened, right? So on the right side, I always do things that represent an outward movement, like travel, relocation, tangible success, like wealth, a job opportunity, education, status, if you want more recognition, these type of things. So on the top the top right, I do a lot about the success, right? And what that looks like for me in what I'm doing. And then as I move down towards the lower right, I'm putting things about what am I doing that's going to bring about this movement of success, or this turning of wealth or abundance or prosperity. So in the sort of the central lower right, I'm always putting like pictures of like what I'm doing, right? What I'm doing, okay? Am I writing? Okay, am I getting myself out there? Am I creating? Usually has to do with the heart of the matter. And the heart of any success is your creativity, okay? So usually I'll put like expanders for like, if I want to teach Kundalini yoga, or music, or creative writing, or even if it's like working with children in a sort of in a school, or if it's like going to school, right, in the classes that I'm wanting to take, all of that kind of stuff, right? It's like, what am I doing, right? The steps I'm taking, the creativity that I'm applying to reach this sort of higher success, right? And then sort of in the central, right? Again, you imagine like you're looking at a wheel, right? A wheel, and it's kind of moving more and more into the center, okay? So it's moving counterclockwise, going further in, all the way to the center point. And in the center point, moving from the left to the right, I put like images of the kind of joining of this deep inner creation, right? The things that it's like my soul's mission. Like, what do I really want to create? What do I really want to create? So it's really going deep into like the joy, right? As we get into the center of the board, we're thinking about the joy, the pure joy. So usually I'll have like images of like, again, like I'm looking at my board now and I'm seeing like Dr. Seuss vibes, right? Or I'll show, I'll have like images of, words, people, right, that really because we love to look at people, right? We love to look at people. So I always have like a let's say a couple that is, you know, eye gazing, right? To symbolize a deeper intimacy. Or like I said, Dr. Seuss, which is like a real joy, right? Like creating something that just brings so much joy and so much like fulfillment, right? Or a picture of something that is tangible that I'm really wanting to create, and looking at it just inspires me. Or looking at like an author, right? That is like real. So in the center, I look at like a lot of inspiration. So I'll see a kind of a broad range of inspiration, from like books to ceramics to public speaking to spirituality. And I'll just see it all kind of circulating in the center, moving more into the innermost part, right? Almost like when you look at a yantra, and there's this innermost center part, this little, usually it's like a little circle, innermost part, and it's like it takes you out into the universe. So I imagine like we're creating our own little yantra, that the innermost part is like that little circle, that point where it connects you to the infinite of yourself. And what the infinite of yourself is like the true creative renaissance, like where all of your creativity is stored, and where all that creativity can kind of come in through that portal to connect to you. So again, the vision board technology it's very strategic. It's not just random. Okay, there's a sort of, again, like you're looking at it like you're looking at a clock or a wheel. Okay, moving counterclockwise around, left, down to lower right, upper right. Okay, and what comes in, right, is counterclockwise is the heart. You first start with the heart, which is the loving relationship you have with yourself, and then with the planet and with other people. Okay, it's very important to have loving relationships. And then you move into the lower right, lower left, and again, that has to do with your deep inner inspiration, that spark of the divine, your inner child, the voice of reason, you know, pictures of nature, things that, you know, really get you feeling a deep, meaningful connection. It could be books of philosophy. It could be spiritual podcasts, anything really that gets your inner child, the spark of the divine, really moving. And then as it begins to move to the lower right, you're dealing with, you know, your expanders. You're dealing with the creativity of what you're doing, the steps you're taking to move to the upper right, which is the outward success, right? It's about you like shining your light out into the world, you being you, your personality, your character, what you really want to be within your community. Okay, so we're just gonna, you know, and then as it all kind of swirls into the innermost part of the board, that's all of this kind of coming together and joining into this like deep fulfillment. Okay, as you do vision boards each year, you know, at every solstice vibe, it's going to be different, because you're going to uncover more things about yourself. You're going to learn lessons, you're going to initiate yourself, and you're going to take bigger steps. You're going to have more bolder visions of your success and your creativity. You're going to complete a lot of creativity. You're going to see your creativity actually manifest. So then you'll put new creativity up on the boards. Okay? So, the simplicity of it. Okay? So, the upper left, getting into the heart. Okay? Matters the heart. Is the feminine, the divine feminine. So your picture is going to be about the love connection, okay? Connection to love for self and other, okay? And what you're working on, what steps you want to take in healing, repairing, these type of things, okay? And then the lower left, okay? Getting more into that section, we're talking about the deep you, okay, the unconscious you, okay, so that has to do with the longings, your belonging, okay, in the connection with yourself and other. So images for that. Okay. And then we move towards the right, the lower right. That has to do with your creativity. Okay. What creativity are you working on? It's about your practice, your participation, your application. And then as you move to the upright, that's about your execution. Okay, what are you actually going to execute? Okay, that's about the real sort of accountability, the real kind of the grit, right? The success, right? That you're making for yourself. And what do you want that to look like, feel like in that kind of thing? So yes, I just wanted to share this vision board technology. It's very much like we're creating our own little yantra, or yes, creating our own little yantra. So this is important that we can do. You can use images like you print from the internet. If you're a visual person like me and you already have expanders, right, that I've mentioned, that you work with, that you just naturally like are inspired by, they really get you motivated. Or you can do more of a writing, but I like to combine the both, visual and writing, because when I see something, for example, like when I see the Dr. Seuss, books, right? I have like all his little little books on my vision board. That visual, it really hits home with me, because there's a sort of radiance to these books that really, it just really gets me going. Okay. Writing, the brain, it reads, but writing can put the brain in a more analytical state. Okay. And we need both. We need the analytical, but we also need we need the logic, but we also need the more artistic, because manifestation is both. It's not just a logical, if I do this, that, XYZ, it's going to lead to this. Manifestation is more artistic. Like if you really, the success that we want, or this relationship what we want, there's a certain like creativity and artistry that we need to have. Okay, because love relationship is not just logic. It's also about, your virtues, your values, your spirituality, like, your emotional and spiritual growth, right? And then your success too, in whatever subject of interest, or whatever, multiple things. It's not just logic. Okay, it's not just like a XYZ type of thing. There's also, like I said, the greatest success, there's usually some sort of artistic movement that's going on, right? I feel like people who really have fulfillment within their success, they're actually being very artistic, right? Or they're doing something that's really unique, original. They're really using their creativity in a very brilliant way. Okay, that's the real, the foundation of a loving relationship is the unconscious. Okay, which is the right side of your body. And that has to do with the healing of the unconscious, the recognizing the unconscious desires, and the, really understanding your unconscious fears, so that you can become more aware, right? And the foundation to any sort of bright sunflower yellow success, the foundation of it is your creativity, right? You can't have this bright, luminous creativity or success if you're bankrupt creatively, right? If you're a mimic, if you're an imposter, if you're a replica, if you're right, that type of vibe. So any foundation for the success is always going to be the kind of creativity and the sort of originality, and the movement, the steps we're taking to really get in touch with where does the creativity really come from. It comes from our deep belonging, our deep yearnings, our deep unconscious self. Because that deep unconscious self is where we have the real ecstatic poetry, the real honest energy, right? That can come forward in such a just an extraordinary, radiant, and authentic way. When we are in our creativity, in the autonomy of our creativity, that is like as deep as it gets, right? And when the success of that is very fulfilling, because we know that it's coming from our autonomy. We can get success in other ways. We can, I'm sure right? There's a lot of that. But, it doesn't really give you a sense of, it doesn't give you a sense of fulfillment, like a deep fulfillment, okay? And then again, the loving relationship, it all goes to the root, the foundation, the depth of you. And that again is that inner child, loving relationship, doing doing something that we love, even if it's just making little like sculptures of owls or something, necklaces out of like pearls, something that we feel a sense of like our inner child, of freedom, we feel like we're soothing ourselves. Because then when we feel more whole in ourselves, when we feel more like connected in our autonomy within our inner child and peaceful, just peaceful, we can show up to our, relationship with our children, ourselves, and, spouse in a way that's more holistic, or more welcoming, more compassionate, more patient, because we understand the growth process, because we're going through it. When we're going through our growth and we have the anger, resentments, the past coming up, and we heal that and we learn to soothe ourselves, we learn what it is to be a space, to hold space for other people to do the same thing. So when people get triggered and they go through their things, right, their shakeups, or dark night of the souls, because we know how to best relate to that within ourselves, we're not going to be so like taking things personally. We're not going to play games. We're not going to like take away our love, or get agitated by people who are our spouse that are growing, right? We're going to know how to best hold space for people, spouse, children, who are going through that kind of dark night of the soul, like whatever purging, right? Or fears are coming up, and they're having to look at it. And that's the best thing that we could give to a spouse or a child, or that we is to hold a space where we can, a very soothing space, a very calm space. And that's a great challenge, is that kind of autonomy, to be able to be independent. When someone's going through their own you're not getting wrapped up in it. You're not taking it personally. You're not, why do you not like me? Is that why you're doing this? It's like, no, it's like I'm going through my purging, right? And that takes a real sort of strong autonomy, and a strong sort of independency, and a strong sort of person who knows how to hold space, and that really comes from knowing how to soothe ourselves, right? That's a wonderful, one of the best offerings you can give to your child spouse, is knowing how to soothe yourself. Because if you know how to soothe yourself, they're just going to kind of ride the wave with you. But if you have a wake that's just like, and you don't know how to calm it down, right? That's going to kind of project out in your relationships as well. So we want to, that why we work on self-soothing is so we're not easily rattled. That's a gift, to not easily be rattled and easily be taken offense and, I'm offended type of thing. Because people on this planet are going so much purging, so much, fears coming up, and they have to work through issues, whatever you want to call it. And to actually know how to hold space for someone, that's a real sort of indication that that person has gotten in touch with their ability to self-soothe themselves through their whatever it is that they do on a daily, weekly basis, that really gets them to that deep, I call theta state, or even deeper than that, in their waking hours, right? Sometimes it's just, you see a parent just, they making little owls out of clay, or, ceramics vibe, and that's it. They get to that state, and that becomes that self-soothing, to the point where they're, the husband, their children, they know how to like hold that same energy that they hold when they're, doing pottery or whatever, and hold it within their household, right? So again, I just, this technology is very wonderful, that I use regularly, and I think this could be a wonderful time for us to use it during the winter solstice. But it's not just about, oh, the success, oh, the relationship. It's not just about the outer appeal, right? The visual I choose is also about the inner appeal, the how do I feel, with these expanders. I've had these expanders sometimes for years, the same expanders on my vision board. It's not just random people, models off of magazines. There are people that I actually have a personal connection with. I might not know them, but I do feel like I really resonate with what they're doing deeply, right? Very, very much so. So it's not just about, I want this, that, the other, listing it. It's also about you getting in touch with yourself, getting in touch with your creativity, and also getting in touch with your healing and your healing journey. And how do you want to, continue that? And what ways do you want to work on that? Okay. Yeah. So, when we start to really become expansive and just say, hell with the wind, and, definitely hell with fear, I've noticed, my vision boards become so expansive, like so multi-dimensional, multi-talented in the way that a vision board, if you look at mine, it's like, it's all over the place. Like there's so much multi-talented, multi-dimension going on, where it's like, it feels, looking at it's like hard to keep up. But I designed it like that because, what else are you going to do with your time? Every single moment of freedom or moment of break or whatever we could be using towards working on the well-roundedness, the autonomy of ourselves, right? So, hell with the wind. And when you become more bold and fearless through actually taking small steps, larger steps, big steps, right? And you start to become, it's not just about you looking at it, it's also about you experiencing it, going out there and having the experience of having these synchronicities, these serendipities, these connections with people, you creating something with people. So the more that you become bold just in your life and the choices you make with whatever it is that you feeling needed to do for your own belonging, and own freedom and karmic clearing, you're going to find your vision board is going to become a lot more expansive. It's going to become a lot more dynamic, and it's going to have a lot more things going on. And I think, when we step more into our autonomy, our wholeness, and our sovereignty, independence, we really are very, very talented. We're very gifted. There's so much that's going on within us. And a vision board for me is just a way to capture, like, all of that stirring of creativity, that stirring of energy, the stirring of movement that's going on within us, and trying to capture in a way where, we can look at it on a vision board and kind of see how our soul, is speaking to us, and how our soul is revealing its, even a Sachic record, it's revealing its mission, or it's revealing like its strengths, right, that it really wants to develop in this lifetime, right? So vision board is not just of the moment, just want this hot guy or this, whatever, this money. It's looking at, the soul's journey, right? Because, we can get hot money, hot guy, but, sometimes a hot guy is just flesh, right? It's just lust, just, hot sex type of thing, but it doesn't go deeper. And then, we can get the success in it, but we're doing it like, cheaply, right? Right? So, vision board is not just about that, because it would look very empty, right? It would just be like hot guy, picture one hot guy, and then picture just cash, right? There would be nothing else, right? It would be like, okay, this looks really boring. So it's about, when you look at a vision board, it's really like a painting of a person's, it's really a painting of your creative renaissance, really. Because creative renaissance is also about your personal relationships, your inner child, your outer success, and what you're doing to bring that, all of this together. right? So every time I look at a vision board throughout time, I'm looking at my creative renaissance. I'm looking at my spiritual renaissance. I'm looking at the turning of my soul, the turning of my mind, the turning of my spiritual practice, and the turning of these manifestations that are happening in response to the turning of my soul, the turning of my mind, the turning of my spiritual practice. So yes, when you keep your vision boards throughout, long years, such as me, like, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, you look back and you're like, you can see the different kind of the paintings of you at different periods of life. Like when, the paintings of me when I was younger, right, of my vision boards, I can see that I've completed pretty much everything on these vision boards. It may not necessarily be exactly what I thought or was expecting, but it did happen, right? And that's what it's about, right? And that's why when we write, like, we get so like logical, like expecting like this, and we create a sort of heavy attachment that actually can be very stressful for us. I feel law of attraction is more of like, you want to really set the bar high, right? You really want to like really go deep and journal it out and really create this beautiful story, this narrative around it. But we also need to be open, right? Because when you're dealing with people, especially people, right, that you want to collab with or something like that, people have their own like free will, and people have their own journey, right? And we can't like impose in that type of thing. But I do feel as we work more and more with our vision boards throughout the years, we start to get very close, right? I've noticed this. We get very close to what it is that we really want. Okay, and you start to realize, whoa, that this person, this soulmate I met, or this job opportunity, or this creative project is exactly what I wrote down. What is exactly what the pictures I've had, and the essence of it. And the reason why is because the more that we step into our wholeness, our accountability, our autonomy, is step into our freedom, and really step into the boldness of who we are, we're aligning with like our unbroken soul. We're aligning with our soul's purpose. And the more that we do that, we're going to be right on like the alignment with our intuition, with our instinct, and that will reveal to us our soulmate, right? In that kind of relationship, and what we can experience, and the kind of self-worth and self-esteem we have in this relationship that's so beautiful. And then it will also align us with the success, right? And the success that we're aligning with, that kind of real creative transmission, right? That brings about this sunflower yellow type of success. Okay, so it's more than just the outer, hot guy, the cash, because I feel like a lot of people have that type of vibe where it's like the hot guy and the cash, and wanting just to manifest that. And you can have that, but we ideally we want to go a little bit deeper than that, okay? Because that we are so multidimensional, and we really want to go on this journey of our spiritual renaissance, our creative renaissance. And that's more than just the hot guy and the cash flow. A spiritual and creative renaissance, as Yogi Bhajan would say, is our greatest success, because it's about a legacy. You're fulfilling the lineage. You can have cash, that type of thing, but is it really providing a teaching, an education, a practice that kind of supports not only the cash of the future generations, but also the ingenuity, the brilliancy, and the sort of intelligence to not just have cash, but to have a trading system, to have a commerce, to have a community, to have a gathering, a sharing, to have a sort of a philosophy, a sort of spirituality, a sort of, value and virtue, right? So yes, this is the technology of the vision board.